My name's Rolf Johansson, and I am fascinated with primitive ways. Some of those primitive ways are extremely useful for keeping us alive. That's why we're going to talk to Dave and Brenda Holder from Mohican Trails, and they're going to see if we're fit for survival. Kananaskis. Located near the Rocky Mountains, it's the outdoor playground for many southern Albertans. With miles of lakes and trails, it's every outdoor enthusiast's dream. But some dreams can turn into nightmares. It's the summer of 2013. People are still getting over the flood and looking for an escape. 6 friends from Turner Valley set out for an overnight camp and decide to go on a short hike. Quickly, they lose their bearings and find themselves lost in the woods with little gear because it was only supposed to be a short hike. Fortunately, they found an old trapper's camp that had a couple tarps and a fire pit. And after a cold night, they were able to climb to a ridgeline and call for help. If one of their party had been injured, or they couldn't find a camp, they would have been in a survival situation. Dave and Brenda Holder of Mohican Trails prepare survivalists for the worst-case scenarios. Drawing from practical experience and from nature, they give their students a base knowledge of how to survive. In a survival situation, repetition and mental stability may be the only things that help you survive. Dave subscribes to the Rule of 4, and when you're in the wilderness, sometimes the Rule of 4 may be the only thing that keeps you alive.
So the Rules of 4 is a series of rules that helps you work through a survival situation. It's not the only rules that are out there to help you work through a survival situation, but it's perhaps one of the simplest set, and it's easier for certainly a novice survivalist to work through. We can survive 4 minutes without air. We can last 4 hours without thermal regulation, kind of clothing, either to keep us warm or to cool us down in really cold or hot situations that you might find outdoors. We can survive 4 days without water. And we can survive 4 weeks without food. In fact, it's been recorded that some people have gone up to 44 days without food. They're not in a good state at the end of it, but they've survived that long. So let's have a look at the first rule of 4 that I like to use. And we talk about 4 seconds to react to a situation. If it starts raining hard and you're next to a river, suddenly the river could come up. Now the next rule of 4 is we can survive 4 minutes without air. So if I'm recognizing that a survival situation is evolving, it might be a sudden event or it might be a slow event. A sudden event could be a good example of somebody getting injured. And within that realm of somebody getting injured, we've got to be aware of, are they still breathing? Because they're going to die without air in 4 minutes. So here we could be moving into the world of giving CPR, checking out airways, breathing and circulation. If they're breathing, we then check them for deadly bleeding.
We can look to nature for many medical supplies.
Let's dive into a little bit of a first aid scenario. Probably one of the most common things that might happen in a survival situation is in dealing with water. So we're going into the 4 days rule of 4. When you purify your water, this is a very important step. It's really critical that you don't allow yourself to get sick. If you end up with a waterborne illness, typically it's going to affect the digestive system. It can certainly affect other areas, but the biggest one is going to be the digestive system. Well, here's something pretty useful. This fungus here is sort of like a false tinder fungus. So most bracket fungus is really important in terms of medicine. There's, from what I understand, for the most part, there's a lot of research being done on them for cancer properties. I know we use them significantly for people that are very ill, and as I said, it's an amazing medicine.
So within that rules of 4, we can survive 4 hours without thermal backup, thermal protection. We go clothing, shelter and fire. Very, very important skills that we have to manage. We then consider either shelter or fire. And the shelter or fire depends on the situation at the time. If it's not raining or snowing hard on you, well, perhaps all you need to do is to light a fire to keep yourselves warm.
So fire's not only vital when it comes to, you know, keep yourself warm and stuff, but it's a huge psychological boost. Can you describe how that is?
I think it goes back to certainly our primitive roots, where we're drawn to fire for the social aspects, for cooking food, and certainly in modern day survival, fire is very important to keep you warm. And it's very important as well to help us purify water, boil water, and other aspects within that survival world, perhaps even making tools as well. It helps harden tools.
Basically what you're saying, without fire, we're nothing.
Essentially, yeah, if you've got fire in a survival situation, you are more likely to come out of that survival situation unscathed. I can start off here with just one of the first aspects, which is available from most stores, and I actually carry on my knife setup here. This is very, very basic survival kit that I've got around my neck. So I have my rod here, my zirconium rod, which gives out some nice sparks on the actual char cloth. Or I could go real primitive and look back to how our fur trading ancestors would have used flint and steel and catch sparks, and can be used in combination with any of the other things that I show. But just initially with cotton wool, I can take cotton wool that I might have in my survival kit, or I might have in a first aid kit.
Or a makeup bag.
Definitely. And it ignites very, very quickly.
Get out. That was cool. Awesome. Next, we get into some natural kind of fibers that can be found within the wilderness, right?
We've got a series of them here. Here I've got a wasp nest, or the remains of a wasp nest. And as you're walking through the bush and you found yourself in a survival situation, you could be picking up things like this, considering later on that you might need to build a fire.
See, that almost goes up just as well as the cotton balls did.
Yes. And most things that you find in nature, which are fluffy in nature, will burst into flame. So we also have...
I know what this is. This is actually the cattail, right?
Right, yeah.
Another interesting fact about this is that you can dig up the roots and process them like a potato or any other kind of root starch, right?
You certainly can. Here I have a fungus that grows on the tree here. It's called chaga, and another name for it, common name for it, is true tinder fungus. And here, I'll just go into the back of it and wind my knife around, just create a powder.
And this will create a smolder, right? So if you needed to travel with your fire, you could.
And with this then, I can look at trying to knock sparks down from my primitive set here. Or I can go big, and one's caught here.
Awesome, that was fast.
It does catch very fast, and then this can burn along. Another way I use this is to get freshwater shells with as well.
I don't know if you can see that, but that's sparking up there. A little bit of an ember going on. Ah, yes, the pocket lint. This is actually usually kept dry because it's in your pocket, and you can actually scrape it from your socks as well. So if you can't find any of these, which I highly doubt, but You could use pocket lid. So, next, let's get this fire going.